Gentlemen, we're going to bring our meeting to order. At this time, we'll have the roll call by the Deputy City Clerk.
The Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Alex Heath.
Present.
The Honorable Linda J. Davis.
Present.
The Honorable Samantha Hudson. Present. The Honorable Hattie Portis Jones.
Present.
The Honorable Ulysses Smallwood.
Present.
And the Honorable James Whitmore.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, everyone that can and will, can you please stand for our invocation? Go ahead, Pastor.
Let us pray. Father, first of all, we thank you for your auspicious grace and tender mercies that you lavishly bestow upon us each and every day. We thank you for mayor and council. Today, Lord, as they submit this agenda to you, I thank you for the wisdom and leadership that you will give them as they bring Fairburn to a place of blessing and restoration for our citizens. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
Under God, indivisible, with leadership and justice for all.
Okay. We don't have any presentation, so members of council, you have before you a printed agenda. Can I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Ms. Davis, second. Second by Mr. Heath. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, we will have public comment. 30 minutes shall be available for public comment. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes. However, a speaker may transfer his or her 3 minutes to another speaker, but no speaker shall be permitted to speak for more than 6 minutes. Further, in the event, if more than 10 speakers desire to speak, we will drop it down to 2 minutes. Issues raised today are generally referred to the city administrator for review. Responses will be provided at a later date. Ms. Clerk, Deputy Clerk, how many speakers we have?
Mayor, we don't have anyone signing up
So I'm
to
assuming
speak.
everybody's going to speak at the public comment then. I mean, at the public hearing. Okay. Go ahead, and members of council, you have the minutes from the March 24th. Can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Okay.
The next item is a public hearing for KB Development. This is a request from mayor and council to approve the proposed rezoning and concurrent variance with conditions. Planning and zoning.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
The item before you is a rezoning request. The item was continued from the last meeting to allow for additional time for public input. I'll go over a brief summary of the request and some of the changes that the applicant has made. There we go. This is located at the intersection of Milam and Renaissance. The total property acreage is just over 14 acres. The applicant is requesting to rezone the parcel from C2 to PD. The applicant is requesting to develop a mixed-use project that is 4,500 square feet of commercial development and 252 multifamily development dwellings and a conservation open space in the rear of the property. The applicant is also requesting a concurrent variance. Having reviewed the comprehensive plan and the policy positions that are located in there, this request does align with the comprehensive plan and the highway mixed-use designation. The applicant held public participation initiatives in August of last year, December, and the most recent one was held March 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. There were both virtual and in-person options. There were 9 attendees in person, and I believe that's a typo, but that was like 10 online in total. The residents also came together and provided some requested conditions that were also included as a part of the packet. They asked for amenities like a patio area. From having several conversations with the community, I don't know if there was anyone that was 100% in support of this. There were various concerns related to property values, traffic concerns, making sure that there were a variety of sort of commercial developments. One of the letters asked for up to 2,000 square feet of commercial, but there were also community members that were concerned about having any kind of commercial in that area because of the traffic. The previous site plan was provided, and the updated site plan is also provided, showing the modified location of the storefront. The applicant added larger sidewalks, a patio area, more amenities like a dog park, co-working space, and reduced the number of buildings. That is the previous site plan. That is the new site plan. The things that are similar are sort of the lake, and probably the most significant modification is really that storefront area along Renaissance. That was the previous, that's the new. And just to show you, this is the view from Milam. I believe the applicant has actually said that that would be 2 stories, and that's the lake, which remained the same. That was a previous. If you recall, there was concern with the commercial kind of being very secondary and pushed back. From the new elevations, you can see that that patio area and the commercial has a more prominent, more modern feel to it. And the sidewalks are significantly larger, and the location of the retail is now closer to Renaissance as opposed to where it was previously. So having reviewed the rezoning standards, heard a lot of input from the general public, there are some of the standards that this request does speak to in terms of aligning with the comprehensive plan. There are concerns related to traffic. The applicant did provide a traffic study. Our team had an opportunity to review it. There will be additional changes to that as this project proceeds if it's approved. If not, then of course no changes. But they did provide that traffic study just so that we could understand one of the primary concerns, and I believe it's a valid one, especially along Milam. The conditions, I won't go through every single conditions because there are quite a few. Having worked with the applicant and looked at all the previous developments we had, we wanted to make sure that this was to a certain degree on par. Some of the items were the pedestrian walkway, larger sidewalks, of course limiting the number of commercial developments before that commercial piece, which is really important to our residents, having sit-down restaurants. That was one of the things that residents did say they want to see as a part of development in that area. Not necessarily multifamily, but the commercial piece was probably one of the most prominent assets for the community, from what I've heard and gathered, to ensure that the amenity areas and the architecture matches some of the other developments. We've increased the brick requirement. The applicant had no issues. The patio is required along the front, and a number of other conditions. If there are any questions, I'm certainly available to answer those, and the applicant is also here.
Well, let me do this. Let me go through the public hearing process. Members of council, can I entertain a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion is made and properly seconded by Mr. Heath. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak here in support of this item? And and I apologize. Ms. Ross, I want to make sure I'm following proper protocol. How many minutes are allocated in this case?
So there's up to 30 minutes for each side to make a presentation.
Okay.
No less than 10 minutes per speaker.
Okay.
We do it all in total, no more than 30 minutes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Mayor, council members, my name is Stephen Jones. I'm with the law firm of Taylor, English, and Duma. I'm accompanied today by two of the members of the property owner. The property owner is KBD Fairburn LLC. That's Carrie Williams and David Harris. They've owned the property for 20 years. I'm also accompanied today by the contract purchaser. His company is contracted to purchase the property, subject to it being rezoned by this body for the proposed use. At your last meeting, I believe we went through some of the high amenities and offerings that his community will have to offer. We'll go through those at a later date, but just wanted to introduce everyone. If I could have the PowerPoint. This is the subject property, as staff said. It fronts on Milam Road, just east of 74. It's 14.22 acres. It's presently zoned C2. consistent with other properties around it. However, you will see in the zoning map, as well as when we get forward, there is a definitive zoning trend in this area along 74 for highway commercial fronting on the state route. Then behind that, multifamily, mixed-use multifamily. Sometimes that multifamily will actually push up and touch 74. And then behind that, attached single-family and detached single-family. As presently zoned C2, the property owners, as I said, have owned this for 20 years. They're not in the business of developing a large parcel like this or owning or operating a parcel like this. So it's been actively marketed for 20 years, and there has not been a viable purchaser in that time. There was, prior to the recession, there was the opportunity for it to be developed in this entire stretch along 74 to be developed by Landmark Development out of Chicago. That fell through, that company went bankrupt, then we had the Great Recession, and since then, that 74 has developed piecemeal, consistent with the comprehensive plan, but we'll touch on that in a minute. But as it presently sits on C2, there's a plethora of uses that could be developed on this. These are some of the more intense ones: automotive supply store, hardware store, car dealership, batting cage, or big box retail. Again, the market has not brought a user there, but the market has, consistent with your comp plan, developed highway mixed use up and down 74, again with those highway uses, highway commercial uses as I call them, QSRs, storefront retail, things like that along 74, and then stepping down to mixed use multifamily, sometimes pure multifamily, and then behind that attached and detached single family. As I'm sure this council is aware, this is the last parcel to follow that trend, and it fits keenly within that trend. As staff noted, the highway mixed use designation on your future land use map is consistent and supportive of this. So when we look at this, and I know council is familiar with the vast majority of these developments, many having been approved in recent years, the subject parcel is in yellow. You'll see the transmission line running diagonal across. That parcel just to the north, the vacant one, is owned by the city. I believe the city has or has previously discussed plans to develop that into an amenity area or a park. But the other red circles are either pure multifamily developments or mixed-use multifamily developments. By mixed-use multifamily development, I mean multifamily residential with either a co-working space or a small retail space as part of that development. What we're proposing here, and you remember from the last meeting what we're proposing then, as staff noted, this concept has changed slightly, is that mixed-use multifamily. And so to the east, those two most recent developments, I believe the Portman Holdings development and Vita, were both mixed-use multifamily. To the north, one, the Oslo and the Dillon, one was a pure multifamily and the other one was a mixed-use multifamily. So we really see that trend going back to your comp plan. This is an effectuation of that step-down zoning. So as you come out from 74, you go commercial, mixed-use multifamily, then single-family. And so this is that final puzzle piece to complete what your comprehensive plan is called for. In the initial plan, this was the rendering. And this was the site plan. I won't belabor those because staff went through them fairly thoroughly. At your last meeting, you tabled for additional community input. On August 8th of last year, we had a Zoom community meeting. August 12th, we had another Zoom community meeting. Collectively, there were 5 attendees. All were in support. On December 16th, we had an in-person meeting. And then March 20th, after your last meeting, we had an in-person meeting at the Holiday Inn next to the site or near the site with a Zoom component. There were 18 attendees there. We sent out over 500 mailers to every property owner within 2,500 feet. That's 5 times the distance that is normally called for, and we did that in conjunction and discussion with staff. So I want to walk through some of those concerns that we heard, we heard some concerns, we heard just some general comments, and what we're looking at in response to those, all of those, as well as then talk to you about the concept plan and how we've modified that in conjunction with Middleburg, the contract purchaser. One, and this is what you hear with every development, right? Traffic. We hear you. We had a traffic engineer look at this. If we were to develop this site as a big box retail, now again, nobody's come along to develop it that. We've had it actively marketed, but hypothetically, that would generate 8,300 trips a day. The proposed development would generate less than half that. And we even, when the traffic engineer looked at those retail uses, he used a high intense retail use. So with like a restaurant or a small boutique or something like that, those trips are actually going to be lower than that. We'd expect them to be lower than 3,000. GDOT's widening 74 all the way down to Milam. When that project's complete, we think that will alleviate traffic as well. I wish he could be here, but we've been in discussion with the representative of the HOA nearby about some of the concerns for traffic along Milam. We have some ideas there that we're going to discuss with the city. Those are really all outside of our hands, but they relate to just striping options that we and our engineers think might help some of that, just small changes. And then prior to LDP, as staff noted, we're also going to work to ensure that any traffic related to this development does not cause additional traffic burdens on the city. This is just an excerpt of the GDOT plan. Next, we heard, and you're going to hear conflicting concerns. Some people wanted all retail, some people wanted no retail, some people wanted all residential. But we tried to address those. So desired for no development. Don't do anything. Turn it into a park. Well, can't do that. But the city does have a parcel it presently owns that we believe is planned for a park to the north of this. And that would be great. There is a conservation area on our site. We can't open that up to the public just for liability reasons and security reasons for the residents. But again, the city does have a public space just to the north of this, which is ripe for a park, and we don't think there should be duplicative park areas. However, we did hear that concern, and in conjunction with discussions with staff, increased the sidewalk width along Milam Road and Renaissance. Sean, I believe that's 8 and 6 feet respectively. Yeah, so 8 along Milam, 6 along Renaissance Parkway, so that the city can then extend those sidewalks and provide the community a way to walk to the destinations here, as well as the other mixed-use developments to the north. And here's where we get some conflicting stuff. Some people said, don't do any retail. Well, we think that this council and your comp plan have called for mixed-use multifamily. It says do mixed-use multifamily, and we've seen success there. So we want to follow the comp plan. We want to follow the precedent that this council set and do a mixed-use multifamily development, just like you've seen to the north here and seen to the west. A desire for there to be increased residential. We heard some folks say, 10,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet. We don't see the demand for that. We see really a demand for something less, something comparable to what's been done at other developments. But we did hear that concern, and as a result, we increased the commercial area by 50%, so now we're at 4,500 square feet. We think any more poses a risk to the development, but we did try to hear and address that concern and increase it by by 50%. Next is the flip side of the coin. Some people said no retail, some people said no residential. Do it all retail. If the property owners could have sold it for retail, they would have done it 20 years ago. It's not in the cards. The market's just not bringing a use there. And I think the comp plan recognizes that, and the council zoning decisions recognize that. We've got that step-down zoning from highway commercial to mixed-use multifamily to residential, whether it be attached or detached, townhomes or standalone. And also the property just at 14 acres, it's not large enough for a large-scale retail development. And also, finally, it just doesn't have the frontage or access or exposure that you'd see for a large-scale retail development. We heard, and we're getting to the end, we heard concerns about the price point of these apartments. This is, again, and I'll let Sean speak to this more, this is a price point in and a type of product that we see. You know, everybody deserves a place to live, but we see the demand for young professional housing in this corridor and adjacent to and in proximity to the MARTA Park and Ride as well as 85. We see that being fulfilled in the prior projects that have been approved. So this is just an in-demand product. That's also that young professional component is why we're targeting 1 and 2 bedroom units as opposed to larger units with more bedrooms that are focused towards families. And also this property is highly amenitized with high-end finishes. I'll let Sean go into that more, but I think it's things like Nest or smart thermostats and high-end finishes, granite countertops and quartz. I say, I don't know. You'd have to ask my wife what's the popular one. I can tell you. Desired uses. People ask for things like gyms, grocery stores, sit-down restaurants, dog parks, dog spas. You know, again, with the end user, with a commercial, we're not the end user, right? We can develop the retail space, but whatever comes there will come. We will, or Middleburg will, work with the city and the community to try to attract some of those desired uses, but we can't, you know, it's not a, if you build it, that desired use will come. We hope they'll come, and we hope it's a use that people will use. But we have taken some of that into consideration in the revisions to the concept plan and added an on-site dog park for the residents. To council's comments also at the prior city council hearing, you know, as you add more rooftops, residents to the area, that does draw in those uses that are demanded. So as you have more residents with disposable income, that's how the grocery stores and sit-down restaurants do their marketing. They look at the per capita number of people per square mile and do their math in locating sites. And so adding that to the base, I think, helps attract some of those uses that we heard a few people demand for this site. So I do think it's a win-win. Not for this site because, again, the exposure, it just is not primed for a commercial development because it sits off the highway, its acreage, its location, things of that nature. 2 other things. Sidewalks, we've touched on that again. An 8-foot sidewalk on Milam, a 6 on Renaissance. We heard that concern, we answered it. Desire for beautification, you'll see in the renderings that are coming up, we've added beautification along Milam in this phase of the plan or in this iteration of the plan. So again, we tried to hear those concerns and where we could address them. To that end, you'll see on your screen, we recently received a letter of support from an adjacent property owner that says they're excited for it. If you want me to leave it up, I will. Okay.
Keep going. Ready.
Desire for fencing adjacent to residential properties. We did that. We also added a buffer. One thing we heard from the adjacent residential neighborhood is that there are trespassers that trespass across their property to enter that property now. We're going to put a stop to that. We're going to provide a buffer. We also moved a lot of the buildings in the initial concept plan away from the residences. That really wasn't something they even asked for, but they, you know, just looking at the proximity and as Middleburg started to retool the plan, we moved some of the buildings further towards the Renaissance and 74 side just to add some separation between the residential uses, the single-family residential uses to the east. And the desire for public space. This isn't an open space development. We have a conservation piece around the existing farm pond, but for safety and liability and insurance concerns, can't open that to the public. But we do look forward to the city developing its parcel to the north for a public park. So with that, we get to the revised plan. This is zoomed out. I wanted to show you the full plan. Let's zoom in now. You can see those buildings have moved. They've moved west. So you don't have any buildings abutting the residential uses. You've got a landscape buffer between the development and the residential uses and that fence they asked for. Addressing another concern, the sidewalks along Milam and Renaissance Parkway. And then you'll see we've added trees along Milam Road as well to address that beautification concern. To the retail component, we've retooled the retail component. It's larger, it's 50% larger, and we've shifted it south just a little bit to increase that parking area and have a dedicated parking area for it before you enter through the gates. You will see an entrance on Milam Road. That's not a residence entrance. Everybody enters through Renaissance Parkway. That Milam Road entrance is what we call a Knox box for first responders, EMS, that kind of thing. So if there's an emergency, they have a special garage door opener that they can get through the gate. Residents cannot. That brings me to the revised renderings. This is on Renaissance Parkway, looking at that 6-foot sidewalk into that retail component. Again, I think it's a great revision here with that outdoor patio area that staff's focused on. In the very foreground, that's where the dog park is, between those two buildings back there. And then this is on Milam, again, adding that 8-foot sidewalk, the street trees, street beautification, really trying to hear that concern about streetscape and incorporating it. That's the revised plan. That's where we've come, where we've been. We really thank you for the opportunity to present this project. Should council have any questions now or after further public comment, be happy to address those. I would like to reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal, should it be necessary, Mayor.
Absolutely. At this,
Mayor, just before you go forward, I don't have a question, but can we adjust, oh, he's back there adjusting it now. They got real hot up here.
I thought it was just me. Okay. And so at this point, you will get an opportunity for rebuttal. And so at this point, sir, did he have something he wanted to present in support of it?
Yeah, so I don't have a presentation per se, but I'm Sean Roscoe with Middleburg Communities. It's great to see you, Mayor and City Council. So I am the developer that's currently under contract on this property. This will be the 4th development that I have worked on in the city of Fairburn. So back in 2014, I did Solstice on Oakley Industrial. 2018 did the Dillon. It's now called the Dillon Fairburn up on Renaissance Parkway, and then also did most recently Oslo. So that's just north. So this will be the 4th development in about a 10 or 11 year time frame. So obviously things have Fairburn has grown a lot in that 10-year period. We've seen median household incomes double in that time frame. Housing prices have also gone up by 50 or 60%, and there have been just a lot of changes in the young professional crowd that is living in Fairburn. So in this particular development, we expect the residents to be between 22 to 40, 22 maybe to 40, 45 or so. It's a very young group. It's a lot of young professionals that are working at the airports, in the movie studios just south of us at Trilith, north in Union City. There's a lot of the managers that are working in the large industrials surrounding Fairburn that live in these developments. We even get nurses and doctors that are working as far north as Grady, and we even had someone from North Point Hospital in Sandy Springs. So there's a lot of folks that are living down here in Fairburn, and for a lot of good reasons. So this particular development that we're proposing is 252 units and 4,500 square feet of retail. It's going to be 9-foot ceilings, your resort-style pool, fitness center, site-wide Wi-Fi, so you walk out of your unit on a Zoom call and you never lose connection as you make your way to the club room if you need to, change locations. Club room, conference room, co-working spaces. We've got micro offices planned for all these residents. We've got secured package delivery. We added in a dog park and dog spa. So you've got the bathing tables, and you've got drying tables, and there's a vending machine in there as well for those that need to get some shampoo while they're in there. We've got nature trails planned. Obviously, the existing pond, we're planning pergolas around those and really going to enhance that feature for the residents. And then as well as the unit features that have, your Nest-style thermostats where, if you want to sleep at 65 degrees and you want to leave your house and go to work and have it at 75, it automatically does that. You set it how you want. Electronic door locks, 9-foot ceilings, your designer-style light fixtures and plumbing fixtures. They're upgraded. We have slow-close cabinets, you name it, quartz countertops. It's everything you'd see in every Class A development in Atlanta, Buckhead, Brookhaven type area, as well as Oslo. I mean, Oslo and the Dillon are also very comparable to what we've built, what we plan on building here. We've even got conditioned corridors, and every entrance to the building is also secured. So that is something that the other developments don't have. As far as the changes that we've made to the site plan from the last meeting, essentially we scooted the building as close to Renaissance Parkway as possible in order to give that residential a little bit of breathing room. So there's a couple stipulations in the zoning that require our buildings to be a certain distance away. We want to reduce light pollution, so we're doing a full landscape buffer along that entire side, as well as part of Milam Road to keep the planned detention pond from being, a view off of Milam as you drive by. And you saw that in that second rendering. Other things we've planned are the 8-foot sidewalks along Milam, which were requested by the residents, as well as the 6-foot sidewalks on Renaissance. So essentially, if you look at a plan or a view looking down at Fairburn, once Renaissance is connected, that last little piece just north of us, there will be an entire loop that connects all of those neighborhoods with the retail that's along 74, goes up to Harris Road and back around. So it's truly going to be a total mixed-use community if you count all of the commercial on 74 as well as all the single-family and townhomes just east of us. So it's really turning out to be exactly, I think, how it was planned by Fairburn planners. And then lastly, we increased the retail space a good bit by 50%. So now we've got 4,500 square feet of retail. That's typically 3 or 4 small businesses that go in there. I've been in talks with the Economic Development Department here. Sylvia has been extremely helpful to work with. There are 4 retail establishments that are interested in going in this location at this moment. So we're in talks with them, and it ranges from a AI small neighborhood grocer to salon, spa, as well as a small locally owned coffee shop. So it's pretty good traction considering this development hasn't even been zoned yet. So typically you start to see traction when buildings are built and there starts to be storefront up on the road, but working with y'all's economic development has been great and very helpful in getting this planned and making sure we're adding the right amenities for the residents within this area. That's what I've got.
All righty, sir. What I'm going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask, is there anyone here that's wish to speak in opposition of this project? Please come forward. And the time is 7:33.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Staff. I think I forgot to say my address the last time. I'm not sure if I need to.
Yes, ma'am, just do it for
Yes.
the record.
Okay, my address is 6063 Autumn Green Drive, and that's in Fairburn, Georgia.
What is your name?
6063 Autumn Green Drive.
And your name?
What is your
Cia Maruel Fierce. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. CIAMARUEL. Last name F as in Frank, EARS as in Sam. Okay, thank you again for having me. I don't really have much prepared, but I did want to say, as a resident of Fairburn, I did send in me and a couple of residents did get together. We sent in a few suggestions to the developers, and although they have hit on some of the suggestions, I feel that it is still not beneficial. They did not decrease the amount of units, they just increased the elevation, and they still have the same amount of units. I was a little confused because I know they said they increased the retail, commercial 50%, and I thought it was originally 3,000 and it's now 4,500. I'm not sure if that's 50%. It's a little less than 50%. Some of the suggestions that I think that would benefit the residents of Fairburn is a larger commercial space. Some of the suggestions that we were looking into is having two-story buildings, two-story spaces where the front windows are 2 stories. So like when you look at Trilith and you look at the Avalon and places like that, they have 2-story restaurants and 2-story commercial buildings that look really nice aesthetically from the street. I know they mentioned that no one wants this frontage because it's so far back. But again, when you look at those locations, they have developments that are off the road, off the main road, and they seem to be thriving quite well. I know they did increase the sidewalk, which I think is a great thing. I would have loved more increased sidewalk on the Renaissance area so that they can have more outdoor seating, people can walk by. The traffic is still a concern to me. I live right off of Milam, and it is chaotic trying to get out of Milam. I know they're gonna do the construction with the interchange. But like I said, my son is late to school every single day. He rides the bus, he's never on time. Because there's so much traffic on Milam. To me, this only adds to the traffic problem. I think people are gonna try to avoid coming out to Highway 74 and go the back route onto Plantation. Like I said, that has been one of my neighbors was killed at the intersection of Plantation and Oakley because so many people are trying to get out. So I feel that this traffic issue is gonna be worse due to this apartment complex. I wish there was another way for them to get out. Again, going back to the retail, because I am for growth, smart growth. I also want Fairburn to get the rooftops that they deserve. But I also want us to make sure that we have something beneficial for the residents. And like I said, the commercial space would be beneficial for the residents. I also would like for you guys to vote no for the variance from 2 parking spaces to 1.5, because I feel like we still, if you have the parking spots reduced, then if you have increased in the retail area, then people won't have a place to park. And I also feel like those smaller boutique commercial areas are not large enough to, if a large restaurant, sit-down restaurant, or a large retailer wanted to come in to those commercial spaces, I just feel like they're too small because they are like boutique areas. And that is what I would like to say. Thank you very much for having me.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, sir, you want to do a rebuttal? Go ahead, sir.
Mayor, Council. I'll be brief. I just have a few things. With respect to the parking variance, we're only requesting a parking variance for the residential, and that's to go from 2 spaces to 1.5 per unit. So you take the number of units, multiply it by 1.5, that's how many residential parking spaces you have to be. We're gonna fully comply with your parking ordinance with respect to commercial, and that's consistent with the other mixed-use multifamily. And why do we ask for that? Because this is a young professional development with majority 1 and 2 bedroom units. If we had 3 and 4 bedroom units, it'd be appropriate to keep it that 2-car limit. But since we have units with less folks per unit, it's consistent with your prior decisions to reduce those to 1.5 per unit. Again, that's what you did with numerous other mixed-use multifamily developments. I want to talk about this commercial component. I want to talk about the commercial component. I wasn't speaking into the microphone. And that is, we've really tried to tailor that to what was approved with other mixed-use multifamily developments in the city. We did hear the request for increase. That's why we went from the approximately 3,000 to 4,500, which is 50% more than what was initially proposed. More than that, we just don't see the market uptaking it. This is not a large-scale development like was initially proposed by Landmark pre-recession for the entire 74 corridor. This is the one remaining parcel that we're asking to be zoned and developed consistent with all the other parcels around it. Remember that step-down zoning? That's all we're asking for, is just that consistent step-down zoning. If we had the 200 acres that was there, but pre-recession, we could master plan something different. But but it's not. And this is the last puzzle piece to fulfill the comp plan. So with that, I'd ask that you vote consistent with your staff's recommendation and your planning commission's recommendation, as well as your comprehensive plan and your prior precedential zonings to approve this mixed-use multifamily and complete what your comp plan envisions for the 74 corridor. And also, obviously, for the associated concurrent variance. I do have, with respect to staff's recommended conditions, which are in your proposed ordinance resolution, condition 3.1 says that to ensure a mix of uses, no more than 126 units shall receive certificate of occupancy until the retail shell located in building 1 is completed. We're great with that. We want to complete the retail component, but we want to be able to pour the slabs and start construction of all the buildings at the same time. As written, we'd have to construct half of them and then the other half. So what we'd like it to say is to ensure a mix of uses, no more than 126 units shall receive certificate of occupancy. That means we can build them all, but we can only lease half of them until we complete the retail component, which I think is a fair thing, because now you've got the whole other half of the retail development that cannot be leased until that retail component is constructed in its entirety. So just change to be constructed to receive certificate of occupancy. And that's all we ask for in modification, and would ask that you vote consistent with staff rec, planning commission, and comp plan. If you have any questions for me, the property owner, or the contract purchaser, we'd love to answer those at this time.
And I'll come to council. I'll get to that point in a minute. Can I just confirm that was the portion you talked about? I actually had a note on here. Is that item number 7, condition number 7 he was talking about? Because I had a question about that. I just want to make sure.
Which condition?
The condition where it had the 126, isn't that, I believe that's number 7, correct? Is-
Yes.
that it?
3.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was, I just want to make sure that was the place, when I was
Yes.
flipping through it, I had a question about that, but he just actually clarified that.
Okay.
Okay, we're good then. And so, at this point, members of council, can I entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Motion is made and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Members, just bring the item to the floor. Members of council, you have before you a rezoning and variance for the mayor and council to approve for KB development. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is made and properly second. Any questions or comments by council?
Yes.
Ms. Jones, and then Mr. Whitmore, and then Ms. Davis? Okay, no questions?
This question probably is appropriate for staff. Could you talk about what's the plan for reconfiguring / expanding Mylan Road? Given that we have a new fire station that's about to open, and the necessary roadway and frontage and turnaround that it will need, as well as widening the road to help address some of the issues that were raised about the traffic down Mylan Road.
Our operations director has a comment regarding fire.
Thank you.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
As a part of the Fire Station 23 design, we added a decel lane which went in last week to Milam Road for the fire station. So that added an extra deceleration lane right in front of the fire station, including a 150-foot taper before the fire station, so that the fire trucks and the city vehicles could basically get off of Milam into that decel lane and go into the fire station.
Okay, so what about the expansion of Mylan Road? Is there enough land to possibly have 2 lanes in each direction, or an additional lane in one direction to help alleviate the traffic problem?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I did have a conversation based on the last meeting with Mr. Lester Thompson. In our conversation, he did say that that will require a lot of right-of-way acquisition. We don't know what that would look like, but that is something that, if that's the desire of council, that we can start the process to look into to see if it's feasible.
I think it's going to become necessary, quite frankly, as that area is expanding, and we really need to figure out how to widen that road and/or redirect traffic. Because in back of us, the young lady mentioned Plantation and Oakley Industrial. Well, that's the city of South Fulton. That is not the city of Fairburn. And they have massive construction that is going on over there. So we're in this environment where all of this construction is all around us, right? So we just got to figure out how to manage the traffic and deal with the traffic. What were you going to say?
And if I can add, we've already started conversations with the city of South Fulton. As you know, if you are at Harris Road and Plantation, Harris Road continues to Spence Road, with about 75% of that road being on the city of South Fulton. That road is unpaved, and so because of the development that's going in at Plantation Road and the DRI project that's to come on Spence Road, we started conversations in reference to doing a design to go into a joint venture to have that road paved. That way, that's another alternative for residents in the area.
And I do know there is interest
Yes.
in working jointly to get that done. So that's good, sooner rather than later. Okay, so that's one issue, but you say relative to Milan Road itself, which is where we have the huge backup, that's going to require a lot of right-of-way acquisition. Okay, so I'm asking, let's explore what that looks like. Let's explore what else we can do to do it, because we know that's a problem that's waiting to happen, so we can get in front of that. But I appreciate the fact that the project is more on Renaissance Parkway than on Milam Road. My question then is, how do you get into the development? Is it 74 Harris Road and then Renaissance? And is there an access from Milan Road onto Renaissance? And then where is the park and ride in relation to all of that?
So currently, as it's planned, and as the property to the north is developed, the only access to this property is from Milam. So if you're going from 74, you have to turn onto Milam and then turn onto Renaissance. There is one section of Renaissance Parkway that is yet to be completed. The utilities are run. All they have to do is pave that road. It's privately owned. It's not owned by the city. It's not owned by KBD or Middleburg. And it's the previous landowner that used to own the Chick-fil-A land, where they're developing the new Chick-fil-A. So obviously that's very, very valuable commercial land right there, and it is only a matter of time before that road is paved, which would give this property access from Harris Road, Meadow Glen, and Milam. It would alleviate a lot of traffic when that final piece is constructed.
So that's a critical piece, and we need to begin those discussions too, to see what we can do. Because to have only one entrance off Milan Road, which is the narrowest of all the roads that are there, is a problem. So I ask that we also begin those conversations or look into what we need to do relative to that. Because, again, we need more than one entrance to it. I appreciate that you've widened the sidewalks, and thank you for encouraging them to do that, because we do want to make this a walkable community. And that type of development really lends itself to that. But we really have to deal with this traffic issue. And I also appreciate the fact that the parking is reduced for the residents. That is consistent with the other projects that we've approved, because, again, we want to make this a walkable community. And given the market of the individuals or the demographics that's interested in that, they are also interested in more walkability. Also, we need to make sure we're enhancing or providing opportunity for the park and ride usage. That's the whole purpose of that being over there, to reduce the cars, to make things more walkable. So, thank you for that.
And
Thank you.
if you don't mind me adding just one more note regarding traffic. So if this were to be approved tonight, construction wouldn't start on this development until basically the new year. So call it January 1st of '26. We wouldn't complete this development for 24 months from that period. So you're looking at least 32 months from today until we have a fully complete development that's not fully leased up. And so you're probably looking at 4 years from now before you have a fully functional, fully operating development out of that property, in which time GDOT is supposed to be complete with their Highway 74 widening in the next 22 months. So if all things line up, our development won't be delivered until GDOT has fully widened and completed their super street up on 74, and hopefully the rest of Renaissance has been completed long before we develop and deliver our first units.
Well, thank you for that. And so in that context, that's why we really need to look at the traffic issue, because again, Milam Road is one of our most narrows of streets, and we really need to do a lot of work in that area, especially now that we have the fire station there as well. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for enlightening us regarding the additional lanes for the fire truck.
Mr. Whitmore and then Ms. Davis.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Milam Road was one of the things I was going to talk about, but correct me if I'm wrong. I paid attention to the presentation, but there's no entrance to this project on Milam Road. That's just for the emergency or first responders. Is that correct?
That's emergency only. And
Okay.
that's consistent with Oslo and the Dillon as well, where
I got
it's
it.
a locked gate.
No, I understand. That was number one. Number two, just for Mr. Thompson and the city administrator and staff, there is something called where if we are not able to acquire all the parcels needed for two going one way and two coming the other way, there's a consideration for one, and during certain hours, that one is used to go, and I'm going to say east and west, okay? But that's something that other jurisdictions have done, and it works. So that's something to consider as well. Number two, Sean, thank you for the phone call. Thank you for reaching out to Ms. Abernathy, our ED department, because I think it's important for the commercial part. And from what I'm hearing from staff, and I heard here in the presentation tonight, you have potential.
Potential.
Which is good. That's better than what I heard last time. So we appreciate that as well. Also, there was something else I had here. Yes, and I'm known for saying this, and I'm going to say it. Economy of scale. It makes sense to change that last item so that when you're going and laying your concrete for your pads and everything else, to do all that in one shoot, economy of scale, lessens the output of money, and then until you get the COs, and then you move on to the next part. That makes sense. You have my support in that if this moves forward. Last but not least, I really appreciate the increase of the commercial spot, because I think it's very important that we try to get some of these commercial entities that we have been trying to get for years, 20-plus years, all right? And even though our numbers are going up, and we know we're about 18,000 for the city, but we're just about landlocked. There's not much left for us to do, all right? So it's important that we maximize opportunities to get in these commercialized business as well. So, but yes, so, and I appreciate the fact that you guys thought outside the box with the widening of the sidewalks and everything. That's going to be a big increase. And also the patio area for the commercialization.
I didn't mention that when we were talking about it. I'm excited about that patio. It's going to be a nice, commercial area. You've got 3 or 4 storefronts. It's also connected to our club room and leasing center, and nice patio space for everyone to enjoy.
So my comment to both staff and to the developers is that I think you heard everything that was being articulated from this dais, from the citizens, and everybody's not going to get everything. And there's another cliche that I like to use. It's the greatest need for the greatest number. That means a lot, because you're not going to please everybody 100% of the time. You're not going to have, even on this dais, you're not going to have a unanimous decision on everything. So the greatest need for the greatest number, we're looking for rooftops, we're looking for new citizens to come in, we're doing things, we know there's a housing shortage, all right? And these are the things that we're doing to help bring in the people that we're looking for to help with our tax base. And that's a major part too, the tax base. So I'd just like to thank you for the presentation and what you guys have presented here this evening.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis and then Ms. Hudson, then I have a comment.
Yes. I want to go back to the traffic. That is really something that needs to be worked on. I was there, went to actually see the property today around 4:30. And first of all, I was trying to see where was Renaissance Parkway in that area by Milo. So now I understand that that service street behind the stores on 74 is going to connect to Renaissance, and you'll have that street. But in my, when I was trying to find out where the property was and what was north, south, east, west, and everything, getting off of that service road to make a left on Milam was impossible, almost, around 4:30 today.
Okay.
Yeah, it was,
Headed east.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Because I was still kind of surveying where everything was and what relationship it was to Plantation Road. And then I was on the phone with Denise, like, how do I go in to see this property, and stuff. And there's that road, that dirt road that goes into that area, which I didn't take. What's going to happen with that dirt road there?
That's the old driveway. There used to be a little shack on the property that overlooked the pond.
Okay.
That's just the old remaining driveway.
Okay. And then I went into the Bedford School to sort of turn around to go and look some more. And with traffic coming and going, and then trying to exit out of that school was another task. So around that time area there, it is extremely congested. So I appreciate Councilwoman Portis-Jones talking about the traffic, because, you think that's what every citizen would say. They always talk about traffic, but we really will have an issue with traffic if something is not done on Milam Road or on that service road, which will be Renaissance Parkway, where you're going to actually face the apartments on that side. So I know you did a traffic study as well. So I don't know what has come out of that traffic study. Do you have some ideas, or?
So staff did have comments to the traffic study, and it is part of our requirement prior to LDP to address those comments, of which one was to modify the study slightly to ensure that this development does not further impact the Milam Road and Milam 74 intersection.
Yes.
2 years down the road. So when we're delivering units and occupying units, our development cannot further impact Milam past what it already is.
Okay.
So we will not be a hindrance to that Milam Road
Yeah.
any more than it's already impacted.
Yeah. And I think the interchange that you mentioned will alleviate some traffic, but I don't think it's gonna alleviate a whole lot of traffic on Milam, especially around 4:30 in the afternoon when people are getting off from work, people are picking up their kids from Bedford, you got the fire station there. So that is really gonna be an area that we really gotta do something about. Because, you know, you got a one-way in and out on Renaissance coming into the property, right? Because that other exit is for emergency vehicles on Milam. So, that point is well taken. That traffic is gonna be a major issue, there.
And it was also part of the site development comments that we would study a traffic light at that intersection. And so
Which intersection?
Renaissance and Milam,
Okay.
where it was so hard to get out and take a left today,
Okay.
the traffic engineer doesn't think that the traffic will warrant that,
You-
just based on the numbers. But we are
He
going
doesn't think it would warrant, yeah.
That's right.
I don't know if that would even cause more issues, because you just have that traffic light.
It's so
off of
close to the
70,
GDOT
yeah,
intersection as well that that's a really tough area.
yeah.
But we are going to modify our traffic study and make sure that we take care of everything prior to construction.
Yeah, and I don't know if somehow you could encourage people in the development to get to 74 a better route than even going into Milam. You
Well,
know what I'm
it's-
saying?
and
'Cause
it's all connected.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we've got residents using Renaissance Parkway and then
Yeah.
utilizing Meadow Glen, which is a light, and then
Yes.
Harris Road, which is a light as well. So-
Yeah,
And the parking lot.
and the parking
And-
lot,
and-
yes, definitely
and
utilize the parking.
Historically, about 25% of our residents have worked at the airport, so
Okay.
that could be.
All right, well, that's great. A couple of other things I wanted to know in reference to the developments that we already have there, like Dillon and also and stuff. Are they completely at capacity?
So the Dillon, yes. Oslo, not quite. So the final CO was just in July of this past year, and they're working towards full occupancy right now. I believe they're 80% leased and about 70% occupied,
Okay,
and they're working through lease up at the moment.
okay. So this development, you have people coming that will want,
Absolutely.
not a problem with that.
There's going to be about a 2 to 2.5 year buildup of residents wanting to live in this area. Because you had Marlow, which is a city of South Fulton deal, and you had Oslo deliver at the same time, and that was a lot of apartments to be absorbed, and they are being fully absorbed, and you'll have that complete by summertime.
Yeah.
And then from summer all the way until the Portman deal's delivered, there's going to be nothing, and so there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand to live in the Fairburn area.
Okay, that was one other thing. I do want to compliment you on the engagement with our citizens and the different times that you have programmed to meet with them and stuff, because that's very important to us, what our citizens input on developments and how it may convenience them or inconvenience them. And it seems like you have really paid attention to what their concerns were and did some revising. So I really appreciate that. I've got 8 seconds. Okay. God, I never use all my time. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right, okay. That's it for now.
And let's get Ms. Huss go ahead.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not going to be redundant in my remarks because I think my colleagues have hit it on the nose. One of the things that stood out to me the most was the work that you brought back from the input that you got back before. And no, we didn't beat you up bad. You made it here. But the sidewalk issue was a biggie for me. I overall see Fairburn's traffic has an issue, period. That's something that's going to always, well, hopefully not always come up, but as we develop, it's going to always be a conversation in operation. Meaning we have this conversation and we find solutions to solve it with traffic. So with the development that you are offering now and with the amenities and how you are separating the retail from the residential, I think that was brilliant in itself. It is always safe to make sure that sidewalks are appropriate, because when I looked at the project the first time, I thought about the wheelchair community. We have, make sure we have accessibility. I thought about the LCI connectivity, what we're doing here in Fairburn already, and accessibility, connecting the dots for residents and pedestrians throughout, not just those who live in that complex, but those that may travel by, or even people who may visit. So that was a big plus for me. So as far as I'm concerned, the whole doggy thing, I think you must have heard something about my dog the last time he was here. But I commend the staff for working and getting the input and putting in place the recommendations for you to follow. The safeguards and the benchmarks seem to be there, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with knowing that our economic development gave you a little boost. And I always know that our planning and zoning attorney is on point. So I never push back when she gives us advice. Today, I want to see this project move forward. I believe that it's a project that is going to really highlight Fairburn and who we really are as a community. We can't get everything that we want, but in terms of working with the community, you did. I saw it. I know the last time that was my big focus, because I kept hearing, like, was it directly with the community? Because the community had difference of opinions in what they heard from you. I want to thank you for accepting my feedback when I talked to you about the feedback that I got from residents in terms they thought this project was more so about, we've held on to this property all these years. They were able to make some money by selling off some of their acreage, and now their backs is up against the wall and they just want to throw anything at us. But we don't have a anything bears all here in Fairburn anyway, and we don't have anything residents. And their everything, their voices, need to be for us to do our job here. So thank you so much. I echo the sentiment on the traffic, but traffic is not just this project issue, because we got a development coming up off of 29, that's traffic. Everywhere we look, traffic. We have to do our due diligence in making sure that staff has put you to task with the traffic study and you have benchmarks in place. I think it's safe in that regard for now. I'm not the end-all, be-all on safety, but in terms of my opinion, the information that you provided, how I conceptualize what you presented, and weighing off the remarks of colleagues today, that's where that comes from. Thank you.
Mr. Smallwood, did you have anything you want to add? Okay.
I have
Hold on one second. You can come. I got one comment I want to mention. Based off the last meeting, one of the other areas I was, I guess, as relates to trying to do something with the commercial area and stuff. One of the areas I wanted is kind of, my wife was listening as well, and she said, I can't believe you didn't bring up an idea as relates to office space. In this case, rental office space. My wife, who has a office space right now through Regus, R-E-G-U-S, and then there's another company called Lucid. I believe TI has a very similar thing on Northside Drive. Long story short, that's a very lucrative market as it relates to office space rental. Matter of fact, my wife is trying to find one closer because of where she was so, in this case, packed out. That's a market. In this case, they just want to make sure Regus, R-E-G-U-S, that's as well as Lucid. And again, that's a very big market right now. And so just want to mention again, I like what the project stands for, but I wanted to mention that because that came up. That was my thought during the last time you came before, but I realized the item was going to be held, so I just waited till tonight. So with that being said, Ms. Jones, go ahead, and then we'll take a vote.
Yes, so I had shared grant opportunity with Ms. Chris from the Federal Department of Transportation on safer streets. So I believe because the fire station is there and the issue with Milam Road, I think that would be the perfect project to make application for the safer street. So I ask that you look at that grant opportunity in light of the discussions we've had tonight regarding this project. Thank you.
With that being said, there's a motion that's been on the floor, and then secondly, all in favor, say aye.
Wait.
No? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I just want a clarification. Is the motion including the applicant's proposed amendment to zoning condition 3.1, or are you all making a motion to approve the zoning conditions as presented to you by staff?
The person that made the motion was, in this case, I didn't keep it with
Well,
who.
it's going to be a substitute motion anyway.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So I make the substitute motion
Go ahead.
to approve this project with the addition of the stated proposal for the build-out to take advantage of economy of scale. And I don't have the exact language, but
Can the applicant read it into the record?
yes, please.
I gotta get back up there. This would be condition 3.1, Madam Zoning Attorney?
Yes.
To ensure a mix of uses, no more than 126 units shall receive certificates of occupancy until the retail shell located within Building 1 has received a certificate of completion. Thank you.
That.
Okay.
And I second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Next item.
The next item is on the regular agenda. It's an appointment of Dr. Larice L. Howell to the Fairburn Housing Authority Board. This request is for mayor and council to approve the appointment of Dr. Larice L. Howell to the Fairburn Housing Authority.
Members of council, this is a recommendation, in this case, Pastor Larice Howell, who actually, in this case, you should have gotten a resume, if I'm correct. You guys should have.
Yes.
You guys should have got his resume as relates to his credentials and the whole nine yards. And so, yeah, you can come up for a second. Pastor Howell, in this case, actually is a pastor in this city for a while, but he's actually a retired lieutenant colonel. You just stand in the mic for a minute, sir. Yeah, you can stand in the mic. And so, in this case, we wanted to bring Pastor Howell, in this case, actually attended one of the last housing meeting that was here in Fairburn, and I did that in my efforts to ensure that this is something that he would not only be interested in, but something that I know he would be valuable. Actually spoke with Ms. Cooper, who called me over from right there at Magnolias, and she was very, she gave me kudos as it relates to bringing another personnel in the housing authority. So again, I wanted to, in this case, his credentials speak for themselves. So I just want, in this case, ask the members of council, would you consider Pastor Howell, in this case, for to serve on the Housing Authority Board? You have before you, go ahead, sir. You want to say something first? Introduce yourself. I think most of the people up here know you, but go ahead and introduce yourself and explain.
I just wanted to have an input here, impact on the city more now.
Okay.
My wife is, will come stand, is it okay if she stands with me?
Absolutely.
Yes.
She worked on the downtown on what?
You speaking to the mic, Ms. Howell.
To the mayor and council people, with the Board of Equalization for probably about 13 years. So I'm familiar with housing, and I was a former real estate agent for a number of years. Can't remember now, it's at least 20 years.
And you encouraged me to do this, how about you telling them?
We know where the support and guidance is gonna come from.
I thought that the mayor was wise in making a decision to appoint him for the housing Authority Committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he's very wise in his decisions for, in knowing how people and things operate in this city
Absolutely.
and abroad.
Members of council, you have before you a recommendation for mayor and council to appoint Pastor Larice Howell to the Housing Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Motion, Mr. Whitmore, I think, and then second by Mr. Heath.
Whitmore Heath,
Mr. Heath. And then,
simultaneously.
You had about 3 people simultaneously.
the items on the floor, is there any members of council? Go ahead, Mr. Whitmore, then Mr. Jones. Anyone over here? Go ahead, Mr. Whitmore.
Apostle, it's good to see you, sir. And I'm just going to keep my comment very short. I have never seen you lost for words.
That's true.
One of my members.
Okay, sir. Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
I want to congratulate Mayor Avery for having the insight to put forward your name to serve on the Housing Authority. I think it's a great appointment, and I know that you will have a lot of input and guidance, and that you will absorb the conversations that we've been having about housing and how you will incorporate those concerns and those issues in your role on the Housing Authority. It's all about housing here in Fairburn. We have a shortage of housing, but we need housing for everyone at every income level. And so I appreciate the input that you will provide in that regard, and the help that you will provide in helping us meaning this city, in meeting that goal of having housing of all types for citizens of Fairburn. So I applaud the appointment, and assuming approval, I look forward to the work that you would be doing in that area.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Davis, go ahead.
Congratulations, Dr. Howell.
Thank you.
Did you have a comment? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Heath, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I just want to say that I really appreciate the fact of what you're doing to serve your community in every way, and to help out with the housing situation and stuff like that. Your input is going to be tremendous, and I really appreciate you, and thank you for your efforts and everything you do, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you. Oh, yeah. And had this kind of attention since I retired. My wife done put me back to work. I just hope that I can make a great impact. I went very far as a lieutenant colonel and worked with a lot of people in the Pentagon and all of that. And I came to Fairburn to just kind of cool out, sit down, but I haven't done that at all. I got appointed also to the board of Atlanta Metropolitan State College, so I'm on that board.
Awesome.
I've been on that board almost a year now, so my neighbor said to me the other day, "Hey, you doing all this? You need to sit down." He's retired like our mayor. And I said, "I don't know. I don't want to die yet. I'm not ready to die. I really believe I'm a late bloomer. I really do. And I just hope that I can make you all proud of me."
Man, yes, sir, you will.
You will. You will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Few words. I want that coat.
Next item.
The next item is the purchase of a mini excavator tractor utilizing a statewide contract. This is a request from mayor and council to approve a purchase a new KCX 50D mini excavator tractor with attachments for the installation and maintenance of the electric underground infrastructure in an amount not to exceed $89,215, utilizing the state contract with Border Equipment.
Good evening, esteemed mayor and council.
Good evening.
Staff recommends purchasing a new KCX 50D mini excavator tractor with attachments for the sum of $89,215 from approved government contract distributor, Border Equipment. The tractor will be used for the installation, repair, and maintenance of the electric underground infrastructure. This purchase will replace the current 2015 Yanmar model tractor currently in the electric division. The 2015 model has exceeded its safe operational viability. Previous repairs have been costly, and the most recent repair estimate exceeds $30,000 in order to make it safe to operate. Border Equipment is willing to take a trade-in value of $10,000 for the 2015 model tractor and the government discount of $26,000 for a total cost of $89,215, a price that no one can refuse for this piece of equipment. Can I entertain any questions?
Let me bring the item, I'll bring the item to the floor.
He's ready for us.
Members of council, you have before you the purchase of a mini excavator contract utilizing a statewide contract. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion is made and properly seconded by Ms. Davis. Any comments by council? Mr. Whitmore, Ms. Hudson, after that.
Thank you for your presentation, sir. Just a couple of questions I have for you. After reviewing all this, I was just curious about how much money have we spent on repairs since the purchase of that 2015 piece of equipment? Because I heard you say that we have been spending a lot, and that's one of the reasons you brought this forward.
Councilman, as of today, we have spent $108,081 of total investment on the 2015 model.
Okay, thank you. So that right there just makes that $89,000 mighty palatable. The other question I would have is the attachments that that we had for the older equipment, and we're getting attachments for the new equipment as well. Are they interchangeable
Yes, Councilman, they are compatible with the new model.
with the new model? Okay. And then I heard you say that you're going to be using it for the electrical underground infrastructure. So that one of the purposes that you're using it for, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then my other question I have is, and I'm a safety guy, so with new equipment comes new training for all those that will be operating the equipment. And I think, and I'd just like to know that, number one, we're going to be retraining staff to use that new equipment and keep that those records so that it can be produced. Because I'm a guy that comes from a training environment, and there has been things that I have noticed where we have not been keeping up with training, especially with new equipment.
Yes, sir. The training on this new equipment and any other new equipment that's coming to the electric division will be certified and maintained.
Okay. And so then the training is going to be provided by this company that we're purchasing it from, or do we have somebody else coming in to do the training?
No, sir. It is no cost, no additional cost to the city, and they are going to train any personnel that will come to the class.
It's no cost. That's great. And then the other question I would have, because you're getting this equipment, okay, and I know we have a lot of infrastructure that we're dealing with, and electrical is a big part of that. And I'm interested in hearing about current and future projects that your department has where this equipment is going to come in need or will be sufficiently used to perform your task?
With the current projects that we have for this FY25 budget, the Valley Brook Road three-phase wire upgrade and pole replacement, the attachment of the grinder, if you will, that will come with the equipment will be used to maintain any of the brush that grows along this area underneath to grind it down. It can also be used to grind down any trees that have fallen over that are in the way of any of the right-of-ways in water and sewer or electric, and can also be used to reduce stumps for streets department if need be. The John Rivers Road street lighting project is in full swing, but we will not be able to use that because it's not our right-of-way area. Also, the overhead to underground three-phase installation of Rivertown Road, we'll be able to use it. There are several areas that we can use it to reduce the brush in that area and also dig.
So you covered a lot just with that one small question. And then, so looking at the cost of this with the attachments being purchased with this new piece of equipment and the attachments that you have that will be interchangeable and used, you got a lot of work to do. So if this is approved, I hope you're ready to get going.
Yes, sir.
Any other members of council?
Just brief.
Go ahead, Ms. Tutson.
Well, I don't have to ask not one question. He got it all today. I really do appreciate the fact that this equipment will help for infrastructure. It's all things infrastructure for me. And so if you can expound just a little bit more the impact, the positive impact on the projects that this will have in a little bit detail, not a whole lot, but I just want to get, I'm visual, get an idea on how you having now this equipment, how that's going to have a positive impact.
Councilwoman Hudson, just for a small example that I can give you, the Ferndale project on Verlin B. Smith, Highway 74 / this piece of equipment, our staff, as of to date, has installed over 60 different services, being temporary and permanent. And without this tractor, it would be pretty much an impossibility.
Wow. Great. Great job tonight. You didn't come to play. Appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm done.
Any other members of council got a question? Seeing none. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
The next item is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. This request is for mayor and council to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority and the city of Fairburn for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Last year, staff applied for a grant from the Department of Energy. It is called a Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant. We were, through our grant writing consultant, we found out that we were shortlisted, waitlisted, and then we are going to be eligible to receive those funds. This is a grant for up to $150,000 for energy efficiency and upgrades to particular city facilities. So we are excited about that. With this resolution and approval, we'll be able to partner with GFA, who's responsible in the state of Georgia for dispersing the funds to begin this process. It will start with an audit or an assessment of several buildings for their efficiency, energy efficiency, and then from that, assessment will turn us into some scope for projects.
Members of council, you have before you a resolution authorizing intergovernmental agreement with the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and properly second. Any comments or questions by Council, Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
I want to say congratulations. This is really long overdue for us to really take advantage of and be at the forefront of energy efficiency. You know, we're constantly talking about our utility or electric usage, both from the city and as well as residents. And what we can learn from this process, from this grant award, and the requirements that we're doing there, I hope that we will be able to share that with our residents and have more conversations about how we as residents in our household can become more energy efficient. And so, again, congratulations on the grant award. I'm really happy that our grant consultant is doing the work that we've hired them to do, and they are working hard in identifying the grants and bringing them to us. And I look forward to hearing the report of the work that will be done in that regard. So congratulations.
Okay, Mr. Whitmore?
I too would like to say congratulations, $150,000. It's gonna go a little ways anyway, but to actually get that grant and to be able to incorporate that into things that we do here in the city of Fairburn is a plus. I'm not gonna repeat what my colleague said, but you know, I'll just say I echo her comments. And I'm looking forward to hearing some more about your scope of projects once you start receiving this money, and how you're going to utilize it to help not only with the initial projects, but the other projects throughout the city for efficiencies throughout all of our buildings that we have here. It's going to mean a lot. And also in light of that, for the administration with our grant writer, you know, I know they're throwing out some low-hanging fruit, but I want to see some high-hanging fruit as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing some more about this, the grant writer and things that he or she or the company is able to find for the great city of Fairburn.
So yes, Councilman Whitmore, they have been diligently working, as you know. The congressional projects applications recently opened, so we've applied for a number of projects with not only Senator Ossoff's office, but Senator Warnock, Representative Macbeth, and so we are finalizing those. And so those are kind of like the high dollar projects that council talks about and stresses, from water infrastructure and projects from the tanks to the ground wells. And so we have a number of projects that we're applying for now.
Well, that's great. So thank you for that feedback. So again, I say thank you, sir. I'm glad you was able to find this with our grant writer and getting ready to utilize some of that money to take care of some of our buildings. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other members of council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
The last item is the fiscal year 2025-2026 liability insurance renewal. This request is for mayor and council to approve the approval to proceed with the recommended liability insurance renewal for 2025-2026 with an annual premium of $1,572,719, and to authorize the mayor execute all documents necessary to bind coverage for the 2025-2026 policy year.
Good evening
Council.
again. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, sir. No, go ahead.
No, again, Mayor and Council, we are at the time of the year again where we renew our general liability insurance as a city. We went through this process last year and the preceding year, so this year we're back. We were able to get all the documents and the applications done in time, a little bit earlier than we did last year, thanks to the diligence of staff. So we are asking to renew this insurance. We have here tonight Mr. John Beckett from Gallagher, who is our risk management consultant. They also handle, Gallagher Basket handles our TPA service. Before you, in your packet, you saw the executive summary of compared last year and to this year. I believe we have the slide for that. And so there are some number changes. I'll let John dive into the details to explain why, but we are in good shape. And we have made some positive notes that I'll let him talk about. And I guess I need to pause to let the mayor know.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, sir.
Mayor, council, thank you all for having us tonight. And I'll be brief, as I know we're last on the agenda here. Overall results were favorable. We've seen rate increases anywhere from 15 to 20%. Our book here in Metro Atlanta is comprised of cities, neighbors of y'all's, counties and school boards, and so this is all we do. This is what we do every day in Metro Atlanta. So we're seeing anywhere from 15 to 20%. This year, the savings, I'll say, were started off on a really nice foot. Last year, we projected close to $380,000 in loss projections, and I won't get into details of how we calculate that, but that is part of the program. And as of March 28th of this year, those loss projections are only looking at just hovering around $70,000. So I want to congratulate staff, Ms. Jones, for the proactiveness and the kind of dedication to safety and risk management. We're starting to see the fruits of that labor. I'm not saying that that is, guaranteed moving on in the future, but it is a great start that we are leveraging in the marketplace, and that contributed to the favorable results this year.
Okay. Members of council, you have before your request from council to approve and proceed with the recommendation of liability insurance renewal for 2025, 2026 with an annual premium of $1,572,719. Authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary to buying coverage for the 25-26 policy year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and properly second. Any questions or comments? Start with Ms. Hudson and then Ms. Whitmore.
The first question I have is for the liability renewal, where is this funding coming from?
So liability insurance is broken up into three different funds. There's a fund in the general fund for liability. It's broken between us, and then there are two budget line items, one in water and one in sewer and electric. That's how it's historically been, and that's what we have continued to do.
So when we talk about utilities and electric, so you're actually taking out from, is this unrestricted funds?
It is in the, go ahead, Ms. Chris is going to answer.
These funds are budgeted within each respective department under liability.
Okay, I understand that. But what I want to know is that in our electric fund, our water, our stormwater, and sanitation, altogether total, we have over 18 million. Is that correct? 18?
Last number I had was about 14, but yes, ma'am.
14 million?
So each division has its
Okay,
own.
I see it. So 383,438. Had to get that right. That's correct?
That sounds correct.
Okay. I want to know what projects do we have, because I know water, sewer, and electric is a very vulnerable place here in Fairburn. And I want to make sure that we are giving attention to those areas because they are critical areas in our infrastructure. As it relates to the risk management part of it, I'm glad to hear that there has been a reduction. But what I did not hear was how was it decided on what would be paid? What was the process that was used to decide the payment or the release of payment of that liability? You said 70,000 was our liability?
Are you referring to the payout of claims?
Payout of claims.
We can, well,
Councilwoman Hudson, so, could you repeat?
Speaking to the mic, sir.
Oh, sorry. Could you repeat the question for me?
What was the process that determined how claims were paid?
Oh, okay.
Settled?
How they were settled is working with the third-party administrator, Gallagher Bassett. I can't get into the specific details, but they work with staff to determine which claims and what levels the dollar amounts are going to be worked through. And the loss projections that we put together, we base that on historical data, and then also looking at claims as they are trended and developed, which is a fancy way of saying how they're going to, continue to rise in costs based on inflation and the length of time that a claim is open. So we take all of those together and say for the next fiscal year, we're projecting $380,000 in claims, losses paid. And as of March 28th, we've only seen approximately 68,000, I rounded to 70 earlier, which is very positive to say those are savings that we put into the budget that have not had to be utilized at this point.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What department did the liability come from?
So the liability that was paid out?
Yes.
So it's broken up between those three funds, the risk management fund and the general fund, the general liability line items in electric and water and sewer.
So that's what a liability was in those areas?
So the claims are paid from those three funds.
Okay, they were paid from those three funds, but I want to know where was the liability? What department experienced that? How? Because when we did this report last year, you talked about in depth the professional practice and where we was historically. Now we're trending forward and we're making progress, right? And so even with making progress, it's important to know and pinpoint where the pressure point or where the issue was. No matter how big, no matter how small, because as we move forward, we want to reduce that even lower. Risk management, correct?
So you're asking where did we pay the claims from or what department had the most issues? I want to clarify what you're asking.
Specifically, what I asked earlier is where was the liability that was paid out from this claim? Department, which department?
Go ahead. So the claims as we get them in, when we process them, they are paid from the budgeted funds, as Ms. Chris said, the budget line items. There is a liability fund in the general fund for under risk management. So there was a claim that was processed, we made a payment from that fund.
What department was the claim filed in?
Go ahead.
So there are multiple claims, if I can provide a little bit of clarity. Some of them will deal with either other vehicles striking our vehicles. There's some in PD, fire. There's one dealing with utilities in reference to a water sewer.
There's more utilities. There's a couple, there's a vehicle.
Sewer backups to property, so they vary.
Okay, so it was only 70,000?
Yes.
That was paid out this year, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when liability claims, when we have liability, how is this council to be informed?
I would defer to how the desire of council to be informed of those liability claims.
If somebody want to state what the policy is on how we are informed about liability, because we're overall talking about the use of taxpayer funds. We did great with reducing it. So for clarity, because we don't know when this program was put in place with risk management, from the budget, FY 2025 budget, an entire salary was created from that. So from that inception up until this date, the council has not received any progress reports, any updates, no notifications of liability, or any claims being paid out.
So I want to make sure I'm correctly understanding your question, Councilwoman Hudson. Are you asking, is there a report that lists every claim that we receive in risk management?
No, sir. I asked, how should this council be apprised when there is liability of the city. We're paying out claims. How should we be notified about that? Because we created a risk management position, right? We can't be free from any liability. That will happen. But my concern is when the council approved the budget for this position, since this position has been in place, we have had claims that were paid out. Today is the first day that I'm learning that we've had these claims that were paid out. So my question again is, my question is, how should we be notified? Maybe I don't know. And then my statement is, we have not been notified. And why?
So each month, there's a city administrator's report for every department that gives summary information. If there's a desire for a different format, for a claim-by-claim report, we can certainly provide that. But risk management, along with the 13 other departments in the city, all report out the city administrator's report every month. In the 3 years that I've been here, there has never been a claim-by-claim report. There's nothing to prevent us from establishing one if that is the desire of council, to be notified when claims are processed. But we report monthly on each department's operational activities through the city administrator's report.
So I'm going to say this. I'm not for sure why or why you think the council would not be apprised to taxpayer money being paid out to any settlement or any claim. When there is litigation, not done, Mr. Phillips, there's a process by which we meet, and that's an executive session. I don't understand how we could be so far ahead in a year coming up back again to budget when we are paying out claims for whatever reason and we never get a report. We never get a report. I'll come back. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see the clock.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
I'll yield 3 minutes.
Go ahead. Go ahead. In this case, he's yielding in a couple of minutes. Go ahead. Actually, I was trying to get you to respond. Go ahead.
So I am here to provide whatever report the council decides they should need in whatever format. I want to be clear. Whatever information the council feels they need as it relates to risk management, we can format that and provide it. In the 3 years that I have been here, there's not been a specific report that I am aware of that addresses what I understood I heard just a moment ago, but we can certainly provide that information. Litigation defaults typically to the legal process, and so typically that would come from the city attorney or one of the attorneys working on behalf of the city to report on legal settlements and litigation.
There is a consistent pattern of not communicating with this council and providing information. And so to say that you've been here 3 years and nothing has ever been established for that, it kind of like isolates us where you get to do what you want to do and we never see it until it's time to vote on it.
Absolutely not.
This has happened before.
Yes.
So I'm going to yield because I don't want to use all of my time. I'm going to let my colleague go, but I am going to come back. Thank you.
Go ahead. Mr. Whitmore, you had the floor.
Yeah, my question pertains to, you identified the 3 departments that this, how much is it again? $1,572,719 is coming from for liability. And I understand, I heard what Mr. Phillips said, that it's always come out of the various funds, okay? Which is?
General liability is budgeted in the general fund. It's also budgeted in utilities and in water and electric.
So I have a problem with the utility companies or the utilities coming out of those funds, especially when during the budget process, I spoke strongly against raising the mill rate. And what we did is we compromised, we reduced the reserve account from 35 to 28, and we got $2 million in the general fund. So why are we taking money from departments that have major projects that they should be working on where they need every dollar that they can get to complete things that they should be working on.
So that money is in the approved budget that council approved. Liability spreads across all operational divisions of the city. There's no division that doesn't have a liability cost. And so we spread that across those three budget areas because it applies to all operations. There's liability in water, there's liability in electric, there's liability in the general fund. And so the three comprise the total liability obligation of the city, and they're always budgeted in the annual budget each year. And that has been consistent for many years.
And I understand that, but continuing to operate the way we have been doing for years does not justify thinking outside the box and doing things differently, all right? We just had $2 million that was put into the general fund. I have a problem taking it from those departments that have major infrastructure and various things that they should be working on. You mentioned Mr. Dana's department, water and electric, water, sewer, and electrical, okay? But you have more departments throughout the city. You didn't mention PD. You didn't mention fire.
In the general fund.
You said general fund, but you're taking it from where?
So
What departments are you taking it from?
it is coming from the electric fund, the electric budget, the water budget, the general budget. It's been that way for several years. It's presented in the proposed budget, and it was voted and approved by council in that way. This is not something new. This is not something that began recently. Liability in most municipalities is spread across all operational functions of the city. It's not a function that only applies to one department or another. Liability is for the entire city. We can have liability concerns in any area of the city. In most cities that I have worked in, that is how liability is generally budgeted. We're always open to new ideas, new concepts, and new ways of doing that. And so we can certainly have that discussion and determine what is a better way to do this. But liability applies to all operations of the city.
I got you. We have a retreat coming up. This should be part of that retreat because, and I can say, well, I'll use you for an example, Mr. Phillips. In your department, you have a large budget, and you use it where you need to use it, all right? Why isn't it coming out of your budget so I can make sure that my utility department still keeps the money that they're budgeted for to do the things that they need to do? That's the discussion that I think we should need to have during the retreat, because I really, after listening to the various things that even we talked about here tonight, and knowing that I asked some pointed questions from August to September of last year in reference to the budget, and prior to the budget being approved, never got any responses to any of the inquiries that I brought forth. And that can't happen this year either. So I'm just saying that these are things that when we go into that retreat, these are the hard discussions that we should be having so that we can make sure that the people that are doing the work in the city have the funds to do what they need to do without pulling from them for other things. Doesn't mean liability insurance need to be paid from those 3 or 4 departments. This man right here has the buildings and everything else. And he has a lot of things that's coming up because of the lack of maintenance over the years. And we still taking from him as well. There needs to be a rethinking of the minds in how we move forward. That's the only commentary that I have for my position as I sit here on this dais.
Okay. Ms. Jones, and then I'll speak. Go ahead.
Okay, all of the departments and employees of the city are either in the general fund or the enterprise funds. Am I missing any other category?
No.
General fund, so police and fire, general services, building, et cetera, those are all under the general fund. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Water is an enterprise fund.
Yes.
Fire, did I say fire? Electric is also an enterprise fund.
Yes.
Do we have any other categories other than those three for which we would place any of our departments? All departments are either in one of those three categories, is that correct?
Yes.
And you just said that the funding for the liability is coming from those three categories, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so one question I have is, do we assign a risk factor to any of the departments because of the type of work that they do? Are more departments more riskier than the other? Yes?
Yes, usually in local governments, your highest risk departments are usually public safety, and then followed by utilities.
Okay.
Not because of malpractice, but because in fulfilling their role as public servants, like our police officers who we love so much, often have to do things that are risky, vehicles, police chases, things of that nature, that happens. So those usually those departments may generate more claims. You heard about, Ms. Chris mentioned that some of the claims are maybe some sewer backups. That happens. We see those more so than other departments.
Okay. Well, thanks for that clarification, because that is consistent with how we're paying for the liability insurance. But one of the categories that I saw on that list that goes across all departments, dishonest employees, that goes across every department. Is that not correct?
Correct.
And some of the other things. Okay, so secondly, I want to say that this last budget season, we did an exhaustive review and discussion about our claims. And we did that in light of the new position for the, and what's it called, the Safety and Risk Coordinator. So it was at that point where we talked about the risk factors, the highest utilization, where the high dollar claims were, et cetera. So we did have that discussion. That's how we were able to review the budget that was required. Now, I will agree that maybe there should be periodic reporting on our utilization throughout the year. So I agree with Councilwoman Hudson in that regard, that we should bring that information forward. But we did an extensive review during the budget process, and I appreciated the amount of information that we were given and the level of detail that we were given regarding that. I also agree with Councilman Whitmore that we are having an upcoming retreat. So let's discuss interim reporting regarding any claims against our insurance. And that would also include health insurance for our employees, because that is a very high dollar value as well. And we've had some adverse utilization that has impacted the amount that we pay. But it would be great to have just an interim mid-year review of that activity as we go into the new budget season.
Okay. Hold on, I had a comment. Go ahead, go ahead, Mr. Whitmore, then I'll.
And I appreciate my colleague even mentoring or mentioning the sewer backups. But what I'm not hearing is what's the cause of those sewer backups. You know, there's something in the medical field called SOAP notes, Subjective is what they tell you. Objective is what that physician sees. Assessment is the diagnosis. And P is a plan. You got to have a plan. When we have a lot of these backups, what I'm not hearing publicly, they just had one not too long ago, I believe, right? What's the report on that? What did they pull out of that? It was something that one of our residents flushed down. That's causing the problems. So where are we with public awareness to talk about those things? We shouldn't have as many of these backups that we're having. We're not doing a good job of educating. That falls on us. Me as an elected official. You as staff. You as the city administrator. So this is an opportunity. I don't care about what we did over the past 10, 15, 20 years. That doesn't make it right. We have to take those bifolds off and look 180 degrees and straight forward and address the things that's going to make this city better. So we can reduce the risk management costs that we incur every year. But just to come and just take it out of certain departments, no. We need to do better. That's all I'm saying.
We can always improve, Councilman Whitmore. Your point is very well taken. On our website as we speak is the public information that we have put out continually on our FOG program to educate residents on fats, oils, grease, and the things that threaten plumbing and are likely to cause sewer spills. There's always room to improve, but we have had that information available publicly ongoing for quite some time now. We can take a look to figure out what other platforms can we do to get that information to folks, but that is important that we communicate those things to our residents.
And if I can follow up, I know about the FOGs. As a matter of fact, that's a new program that was just initiated during this administration.
Yeah.
It's a new program that has been initiated and followed by this administration where people were getting fined for not doing the right thing. There were overrunning fogs going on throughout this city. So what we had in the past didn't work. So we had a department that took one of his supervisors and put him on that, and they put a fantastic program together. And guess what? Now we're not having those overruns, and they're paying, right? So what we had needed to be what? Tweaked and improved, and we did that. What you said about what's in the website, yeah, but every time we have these spills and the sewer department pulls out these things, and I don't know what all they pull out, but I know that's the big cause. We need to educate. And I wish there was a way we can identify from what residents it came from so they can be fined. But that's not going to happen. But we can continue to educate and do the right thing.
But I'll just close and then I'll ask for the vote. First of all, again, Ms. Jones actually, in this case, covered my point as it relates to a lot of the information was covered during the budget season. We did exhaust. As a person that's a former insurance license agent, I purposely, as I was going through it with the city administrator, I asked several questions that made sure that by the time it got to council, it had answers that as a person that's been in the profession, and the liability insurance in particular. And as it relates to a lot of the information, again, you always room for improvement. I won't sit here and say anything. Yes, with some of the spills, with some of the problems that we've had from sewers and all the storms, but let me just be very transparent and say it this way. Ladies and gentlemen, 36 months ago, we didn't have enough staff to do the work. For the last 3 years, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money bringing men and women in here, expertise in this case, to try to make sure we could address the concerns that some of the members of council here have asked and have asked for a while. Are we going to answer every question satisfactorily? Maybe not, but it's not because we're not trying. And one of the things, again, like I said, again, 36 months ago, we didn't have enough staff to the point where, and I mentioned in my state city address as well, in this case, I want to publicly thank East Point, city of South Fulton and the city of Palmetto that had to come in and actually help reinforce a lot of our forces that because of the fact of the lack of manpower that was in place. And as a result of that, a lot of institutional knowledge actually went out the door And so a lot of things that we had to recreate and restore, not to mention our Budden Council, there's, Bill came here and told us that our city's in great condition compared to a lot of the cities he's seen. Again, we're always trying to improve. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you we get everything right. That's not even conceivable. But the one thing you can't say is that we're not sitting here and making valid efforts to actually increase. A gentleman from Durham Lakes sent me a video, that last major rainstorm. I think I sent it to you, Mr. City Manager, and I said, hey, I'd like to make sure as soon as this rain lets up, I'd like to see if we can get a crew out there. Again, it is not because we're not responding. We're responding. And I'll just say to Mr. Whitmore, as it relates to the information, again, Mr. City Manager already mentioned it. I was gonna have a conversation and say, hey, let's ask and modify our report so we bring some type of reporting on a monthly basis, because at this point tonight, it has appeared this is important to council. So as a result of that, it's important to me. So again, you will hear that in our monthly report. And so I could keep going, but that's no need to that. Can I? Actually, Ms. Jones had a question.
I just wanted to ask, what was the inflation factor? Because I know that's had an impact as well on cost.
Typically, it runs with the CPI of anywhere from 3 to 4%.
Which did we apply?
Well, in terms of, I can't speak on behalf of the city, but speaking from the insurance carriers, insurance companies, it's typically anywhere from 3 to 4% in that range.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That coupled with our utilization or claims data?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll come back to Mr. Hudson and then Ms. Whitmore, then we'll.
So, when it comes down to being detailed and the information that's given through budget cycles, what information works for one does not always work for others. And so I still stand with the position that there were requests that were made, very vital requests made. There were very vital points made. There was a lot of information made, but there was a lot of information that was not justified. With that being said, we are here now with another request to fund liability insurance. There's a lot of conversation around fund balances. There's a lot of conversation around how money, where money is being moved from, but there's no conversation about where's the finance manager. We don't have a finance manager, so I would like to know how our finances are being managed. Who's managing Fairburn's finances?
We have an entire finance department, and that day-to-day function continues each day. That is assisted by the City Administration Office while we seek to fill the vacant position. But there's an entire staff in the Finance Department, and that day-to-day function continues unabated.
With a full staff, there's always a captain on every ship. I know that the City Administrator's Office is not certified in finances. So I think it's important that we mitigate this as soon as possible. I support having this conversation and extensive in our retreat. I oppose touching any money from the utility fund because that's a very vulnerable place right now in our community that's attached to infrastructure. Water, sewer, and electric has been key concerns from my constituents, and any monies that are available there for utilities to complete their projects, I want to see them move forward with completing those projects because it is to the benefit of this city that happens. I think we can look at this again. We need to see how this can be funded, but not from utilities. I yield.
Is that it? Okay. All in,
I thought.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. You had another comment?
Yeah, I do. So again, we heard the conversation up on this dais, all right? And Mayor, I heard you loud and clear. And I heard you say that when you came in office, we still didn't have enough staff, all right? We brought a lot of administrative staff in. We didn't bring in boots on the ground, people that actually out there doing the work. That's a conversation that we need to have. In addition to the salaries of those individuals, lower paid individuals. I think we did a great job as a city to be one of the first cities in the South to actually go up to $15 an hour to our lower paid employees, all right? But even $15 an hour is not a livable wage. Not only have we not addressed them, we have even some people in the office areas that have not been addressed. But yet and still, upper management has been receiving large raises. That's a conflict to what we should be doing as a city. These are conversations that we need to have, again, prior to the budget season, so that when we go through the budget season, it's going to be a more diverse dialogue. And the most important thing is when questions are asked, responses come back, even if they can't answer it that night. But we can't be pushing a budget through without answering those questions, because it's a lot of conversation with our citizens out there to have watched and listened and rewatched on the video, and they're not getting answers either. Well, as long as I'm an elected official, I will always yield to my citizens, and I will speak to them, and I will continue to address those things that I feel is wrong. And I will be very powerful with my comments in trying to get those things addressed. So I would just ask that even during this upcoming budget season, we remember when questions are asked by people in this dais, that it does not go void and just come to a vote just to pass a budget to move on.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones, and then I'll ask for a vote.
Yes, so I just want to remind us that utilities, the electric and the water are enterprise funds, and there are legal guidelines for funding those departments. They are required to allocate the cost of doing business. So liability insurance is a cost of doing business. It is legally required that they pay for the cost of that liability insurance and any other cost categories associated with that. So we are required to allocate those costs. That's not an option, because they are an enterprise fund.
Follow up, Mayor?
I'm sorry, say what?
Follow up.
Okay, I think you had about a minute left. Go ahead, sir.
And again, I understand enterprise funds. I also understand the law. I also understand that things can be changed so that we can do better. So we should not sit up here and not have good debates, healthy debates, and think that every time we feel as though we're with our back up against the wall, we just draw on, well, that's what we've been doing for 10 years, so let's keep doing it. No, let's take a look at what's best for the city of Fairburn. Let's make the changes necessary, and let's do the things that we should be doing as elected officials. That's why the citizens voted for us.
Mayor, may I?
Go ahead.
And I totally agree with that, Councilman Whitmore. But again, we are a society of laws. And when it was approved that we would operate an enterprise fund, we agreed to those legal guidelines for the enterprise fund. Yes, there's always room for improvement. Yes, there is an opportunity for us to think outside the box to do things, but until the laws are changed, and they aren't our laws, they're the state laws.
All right, Mr. Taser, you had a comment? Go ahead. You had a comment?
I don't have anything.
Okay, with there's a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Oppose.
Okay, that motion carries. In this case, go to council comments. In this case, I'll start with Mr. Smallwood, since you hadn't had.
All right, well, I'll make it brief. I just want to thank Chief Bazidlo and his team again, because it's that time of year. Again, for the Renaissance, I see my neighbor shaking her head as well, but it was like it wasn't even there. I made a mistake and actually came in the regular way about midday, and I was like, hold up now, is it still over there? Because there was actually just traffic flowing. So thank you all for that, because it seems like now, even though it's getting bigger, we have gotten that traffic situation handled. So thank you for that. And then I will shout out, I don't know this young man personally, but one of my neighbors also was telling me that there's a young man that lives in our community that may be going pro basketball. And while I was watching March Madness on Monday, I'm just happened to be listening, and they said Will Richard from Fairburn, Georgia. And I was like, whoa. So that was the person that my neighbor was talking about. He was actually the high scorer in the championship. He played for Florida, so he's a national champion now. So there is Fairburn yet again doing great things. So, and congratulations again, sir, on your appointment. Yes, yes, thank you. All right, that's it.
All right, Mr. Whitmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, KD, the development project that was approved tonight. Apostle, congratulations to you. Also, congratulations to the Director of Parks and Recs, Ms. Chapin. I found out today that she had her child and just about ready to come back to work, so congratulations to you. Then I have a statement. This is my statement in reference to the state of the city, my absence from such, and to those who reached out to inquire about my absence from the recent State of the City address, thank you. For those who were left wondering, here's the truth. I was unable to attend due to a prior commitment with the Georgia Municipal Association spring training, which had been scheduled in advance and was funded by the citizens of this great city. The timing and location was Duluth, Georgia, which made it impossible to return in time for the event. As an elected official, I fully understand the importance of the State of the City address. In my 9 years of service, I have never missed this event until now. I remain committed to serving the citizens of Fairburn with transparency, accountability, and dedication. Thank you, Mayor.
Go to Ms. Hudson.
Yes. Good evening. I rise today to express deep concern over the mishandling of my ethics complaint and the troubling pattern of obstruction surrounding it. The very process meant to protect transparency and ethical accountability has been manipulated under the direction of the mayor with the support of the city attorney to silence valid concerns and shield misconduct. Let me be clear. My complaint was not dismissed because it lacked merit. It was deliberated behind closed doors, outside of public view, and then voted down without explanation. The executive session and the city's refusal to provide the minutes to me as the complainant directly violates OCGA 50-14-3. Rather than uphold the law, the city attorney, at the mayor's request, has issued an opinion that deflects from the facts and denies me my right to accountability. To compound this, the city manager has made false claims that I have created a hostile work environment. Let me be clear. Speaking up about unethical behavior is not hostility. Refusing to back down in the face of wrongdoing is not aggression. It is leadership. No official, elected or appointed, has the authority to suppress complaints, deny access to public records, or retaliate against those seeking truth. When that happens, we don't just fail the law, we fail the people we serve. This process has exposed a deeper culture of intimidation and obstruction, but I will not be deterred. I will continue to speak up, file when necessary, and defend the public's right to ethical leadership. I will not be silenced. I will not be intimidated. I will not stop demanding what is right for myself and for the citizens of Fairburn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Davis?
No comment, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Heath?
No comment.
And Ms. Jones.
Yes, again, congratulations, Apostle Howell. I look forward to hearing about the great work that you will be doing on the Housing Authority. I also want to take a moment to re-congratulate the 2025 Women of Impact honorees of the City of Fairburn. It was a fantastic ceremony, and the videos that each of them did, thank you, Communications Director, was fantastic. Learned a lot about the individuals, and they were awards well-deserved. Gail Higgs of General Services, Felicia Jones, Safety and Risk Management, Tashia Mosley of Parks and Rec, Mindy Askew from the Police Department, and Brianna Tidmore, firefighter certified. I was so glad that that ceremony was done on their behalf, and really, really appreciate that we're elevating the employees in that regard. I also want to say what's new is coming to our community is the Grady Emergency, the standalone emergency department. That is something for all of us. Although it will be housed in Union City, it borders us right at Highway 92 and Camilton Road, and that's something for all of us to use. And that's just phase one. What is on the docket is for medical office buildings, and we are pushing for a full-fledged hospital as well. But that takes time, and it's a long process, but it's in the conversation. And I wanted to thank the mayor of Union City, Mayor Vince Williams, for his leadership in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that comment. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just confirm something? The 24th is the day we have that comp plan. I want to make sure I got my dates right. And then our third Friday is this coming Friday. And so, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me just say, first of all, I want to invite everyone out to our third Friday. You'll see the advertisement on the Fairburn.com. We have a gospel fest. I would love to see you there, and you pastors come out and bring your congregations with you. On April the 24th, you heard it mentioned, I'm doing a meeting that the comprehensive plan. I'll have a big meeting, I believe, that day in our efforts to hear the voice of the citizens and turn what Fairburn is going to look like. Let me just mention something too first. As a person that's the compliance administrator over Fulton County government, my reputation stands for itself as it relates to integrity and as it relates to operating above board. I stand by that, and I stand by the staff that works here for the city of Fairburn. And so, but then let me add one last piece as I close. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened to the governor? The attack on his residence in another state, in this case, it's an abomination. That happened to me twice here as the mayor of Fairburn in 2009, and it happened in 2016. And so it's an abomination. And so I make it no secret. Again, I'm probably a whole lot more equipped this time around waiting on something like that if it happens again. But let me just say this, I pray that the feds do whatever they have to do in this case, because in this case with public service, people that take their time to serve in public office have to worry about being fearful of their life. That's just a shame, and that goes for all of us at this level as well. Having been a person twice where my residence was attacked, and again, like I said, I'm a different kind of person than I was the last time it happened. Trust me on that. I'm gonna leave it at that as a war veteran, okay? And so with that being said, can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.